People buy from people. You're going to buy from somebody that you like.
Is there any advice you would give to new agents coming in?
The flashlights of Dubai can be a big distraction. It's all about staying disciplined.
What are maybe your best 3 tips of advice for agents coming into the summer months to keep business going, or to keep working?
What can easily sort of affect you as an agent? You're hearing that market slows down, leads aren't as good, everyone's away on holiday.
In the future, what's the next 2 quarters looking like in 2025?
Our price is increasing in Dubai.
How do you find Q1 and Q2 this year compared to 2024?
50, 60, 70 million, 100 million plus. That's when we maybe saw a bit of a pinch.
Hi guys, thanks for joining us for this next episode of Novi Talks. I'm your host, Anthony. I'm joined with our lovely guest, Jason Farr, the Head of Residential Sales at Novi Properties. Jason, how are you?
I'm good, Anthony. How are you?
Good. Happy to having a conversation with one of my favorite work colleagues.
You're just saying that.
Been waiting for a long time. Let's get on for a chat with my good old pal.
Not quite your day one, but I was around.
Yeah, I think the first day I started at Novi, you started as well. It was in the training together, but we just got introduced and then we were split up because I'm only a little fish and you're Head of Residential Sales.
Nothing like that at all. No, I knew what I was doing. You were day one, having to go through the training plan.
Yeah.
I was hello, see you later. Let me get cracking.
I was wondering who that guy was that left in the nice suit. Look, we'll dive straight into it. Today's topic, it's the Dubai market this year in Q1 and Q2 compared to last year. Pretty general question starting off. How do you find Q1 and Q2 this year compared to 2024?
Let's start by looking at 2024. We've been in an upwards trend since effectively the end of Q4 2020 going into 2021, where we saw some of the biggest increases we've had in a long time. And Q1 and Q2 of 2024 was an interesting one. Prices were still going up. I think we probably saw, in my opinion, we saw a bit of a slowdown maybe in the prime and super prime areas, the sort of 50, 60, 70 million, 100 million plus. That's when we maybe saw a bit of a pinch. And it made people start to think, what could happen with the market when the top end starts to slow down. It tends to be an early sign that the rest of the market potentially will. But how wrong we were, which is quite funny. But we also saw obviously a new influx of the newer launches coming to handover, which created a bit more of a supply. But then throughout the year, the demand really increased. Comparing that now to the start of 2025 or the first half of 2025, we've seen that sort of, or I've personally seen that sort of prime space start to pick up again with ex-colleagues and with friends and seeing them sort of put some serious numbers on the board in terms of property value sale as well. So when you look at that, it tends to be from the news and from what you read in between the lines. It's very much a case of where are these buyers coming from? Back end of or start of last year, start of 2024. It was still quite a mixture. We were kind of still running off of this. It's a little bit left the last sort of drips and drabs of the Russian high. Whereas now in 2025, we're seeing a massive influx from the rest of Europe. You're talking your people from the UK and Ireland. You're talking people from Germany. You're talking people from Italy. You're talking people from France. And this is all because of changes in government, changes in things back home for them, safety aspect as well. But the most important thing is the tax side of things. We're seeing people with large amounts of money, with very big businesses, all starting to move to the Middle East, specifically Dubai and the UAE. Tax implications for the safety for their family, and then obviously the potential earnings as well.
Very good. Yeah, I think the market keeps on proving any doubters wrong year after year. In sales specifically, from Q1, Q2 and last year compared to Q1 and Q2 this year in sales specifically, was there any major progress or changes that happened you noticed?
I think we're constantly seeing an increase, which is great. Great for us anyway.
Of course.
in the industry. But when you look at the changes in price point, prices have increased between sort of 15 to 20% over the last couple of years anyway. But the main things that are factoring the increase in prices or the increase in transactions is purely down to two things, which is something that I always say, which you've heard me say on the sales floor. It's all down to supply and demand.
Never stop saying it.
And I never stop saying it because, you know, when I first joined real estate in 2018 in Dubai, it was the other way around. There was loads of supply and a real small demand, which meant that, you know, prices were dropping. You know, you were working for a seller to try and not only to get them their best possible price, but also to try and maximize your commission, because they're all on a percentage basis, right?
Yeah,
so the higher I sold it for, the more money that we got it for, the more money I earned selfishly. But, you know, you also sort of felt sorry for some of the sellers back then because, like, you know, more often than not, they were selling for a loss. And, you know, or potentially a loss on paper. They maybe have earned money in rentals and returns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, realistically, it was on paper, they felt like they were selling for a loss. So you kind of felt sorry for them, but also you're trying to make a living at the same time. So it was a fast forward that to now, the demand for property outweighs the supply so much, which is why we've been on this upwards trend for so long, right? The longer that Dubai or the UAE as a whole continues to sort of outshine these more historical cities and countries that have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, but potentially don't have maybe as a forward-thinking plan or a budget to improve the city as much as the UAE does, it's really sort of it's going to take a while for anyone to catch up. When you talk to people in Australia, you talk to people in the US. I was in the US in April, and we met with some of my parents' friends because when I used to live out there as a kid, and even they were talking about, like, you know, Dubai and the Middle East and how it's now becoming the new place in the world. It's still, like, you know, when you look at the map of the world that you've grown up looking at as a kid, it's central, and, you know, everyone starts to realize actually what a cool place it is. That's where the money is. That seems to be where everyone's moving. It seems to be the place that's making the most noise. Now, obviously, at the start of the year, we did have, well, not the start of the year, within the last few months, we've had the highlight of the conflict that's happening within the region. But, you know, that still hasn't stopped people because, you know, although it appears to be close to home and the media make it out like it appears to be close to home for guys like us, you know, when people are watching the news in the UK and in Ireland, you know, it's all very, very bad news. It's all quite depressing. Whereas here, you actually realise once you get here, effectively, it's close to home, but it's also not at the same time. Abu Dhabi's just been voted the safest city in the world, I think, for the third year running.
Yeah, correct.
You know, the UAE is one of the safest places to live as well. You know, one of the new starters coming from Ireland, he's been here 2 weeks, and he was telling me how he went to go get his medical yesterday morning, and he took his laptop with him because he didn't want to leave it in the car in case somebody broke it. And I'm like, look, you could probably leave the car unlocked here, like, you know, like funny stuff like that. So, you know, it's just you kind of take it for granted a little bit. Yes, maybe you lose a little bit of your street smarts for when you go back home to the UK. But in reality, the sort of trying to bring it back in a little bit. In reality, the market I can only see increasing because of this future plans of the 2030 vision, the 2040 vision, and all these other visions that are being put in place, the improvements that are being put into Dubai, and how quickly they can improve things. For example, this time last year, you weren't here, everyone was moaning about how busy traffic was and how the roads, although some roads are 8, 9, 10 lanes, they couldn't handle it. With the roads infrastructure being improved dramatically in the last 12 months, it's allowed people to think about where they're going to live based on their commute. A lot of people used to try and live very close to where they work because they didn't want to have that commute, or, you know, they had to think about metro lines, or they had to think about, some people have to think about bus routes. Some people will even walk to work. Us being in real estate and an ex-agents, both of us, you know, we had to have a car to get around for viewings. We had to have a car to get to the office, you know, to true checks, meetings, wherever it might be, contract signings, you name it.
It's great to have you in the Cybertruck with me sometimes
Oh yeah, that was one of the, that was one of your
little
first
toaster rental
weeks.
car.
That was a disaster that day doing true sets.
Well, that day didn't go exactly to our plan.
We
but
had
it was,
4 to do, and I think we got 1 done, and you couldn't remember where
I
the other
don't even
ones
think
were.
we got the one done. I think
Did it get rejected?
No, because I had the 4 properties, but I think the one that we actually got up to had already been sold or leased by the time we got there. But I still got a nice spin in the Novi Cybertruck, so that's all I really cared about.
You had a good time with Cybertruck at the end of the day. But but these improvements in infrastructure, and a little bit of frustration while they're being improved, because obviously the extra roadworks actually created more traffic in the short term pain, but for the long term gain, it's now allowed people to sort of, rather than live in these more sort of central hubs, it's made what you could say the suburb districts a lot more popular.
Yeah.
You're talking about town squares, you're talking about Mira, you're talking about Villanovas, Zermatt Hills, Dubai South, Ema South, all these communities, Expo City, all of these communities, people go, oh, but it looks so far away on the map. And then you actually drive there from a central place like Marina, or from the Palm, or from downtown. I live in Villanova, and my kids used to go to nursery in DIFC. It would take us less than 20 minutes to get there because the road networks have improved so dramatically. So when you think about that, it's made people sort of move maybe a little bit more out into the suburbs, which has then obviously created a bit more of a demand in the suburb areas where it is still now. It's sort of, I would say, entry level townhouse and villa pricing. But of course, if more people are looking there, the supply starts to drop, the demand starts to increase, so prices start to go up. Yeah. The rent that I pay now, that I locked in just over 12 months ago, has now increased, I think, by about 25%. Jeez. If you're on today's market for exactly the same. So, just that sort of, that slight difference in, transportation improvements, the future vision of, the metro lines that are coming in and everything else like that. It's just going to continue, in my opinion, to increase the demand. And right now, the supply is struggling to catch up. Yes, we're having new launches all the time, but the lead time is 3.5, 4, 5 years to get these buildings done. So, in 3.5, 4, 5 years, when these start to hand over, the demand is going to increase anyway. Population is expected to increase dramatically over the next 5 years. And if you compare the population increase to the supply increase, it doesn't match up. So yeah, people can talk about, COVID had an effect on the market around the world. It improved it here. No one predicted it. So, we don't know what could change. No one's got that crystal ball. But if you look at the facts, you look at the figures, you look at the projections of what Dubai wants to do, and you look at the history of how whenever they've wanted to do something, they've gone ahead and done it. I can't see prices decreasing anytime soon. Yeah, very good. It's good to have you on specifically because you were a pre-COVID agent, whereas myself, I am, yeah. Myself, definitely, I've not seen, heard, or know anything about what it was like here pre-COVID. But it's good to hear about it from you and some other experienced agents in the office. But aside from the past, in the future, what's the next 2 quarters looking like in 2025? Do you think? I know you said nobody has the crystal ball, nobody can predict the future, but what do you think? Do you have any thoughts at all about what could come? I think we'll see a continuing trend of prices increasing. On the sort of level of increase, maybe not as sharp as we've seen in recent sort of years or recent sort of quarters. We're in the height of the summer now, and the height of humidity. I heard on the radio 75% humidity today, which is dreadful for an Irishman and an Englishman like yourself. We are in trouble. I'm weathered to it now. This is your first. First go around. It hangs on for a little bit longer now as well. It used to be getting to September and it was all right, but now it was hanging on until October, November last year. But I'll be asking you for some tips about how to handle the heat after this podcast. That's literally it. Stay in aircon. But yeah, in terms to what I see for the rest of the year, I can see prices increasing on the whole. If you look at Dubai as a whole, it's hard to do that now. In my opinion, where you can't really look at Dubai as, our prices increasing in Dubai. Well, yes, but as a whole, they potentially are. But there'll be certain areas where it might not be. And it comes back to that same 2 things, the supply and demand. Their demand in one area might be a little bit lower, So the price and the supply might be a little bit higher, so people have more choice, which means they can sort of pick which best option that they want to choose. Whereas if you look at areas that are sort of maybe in a massive hype zone right now, you're talking about like Demac Lagoons, it's just starting to hand over. The valley, it's kind of had this big hype, and prices have increased so much over the last 6 months. Now everyone's going, 3 million for a townhouse out there. I can get same if I spend maybe 50, 100,000 more in Villanova, and it's 20 minutes closer to the city. Maybe I should look there. All of a sudden, the hype so I potentially might see maybe not drop, but maybe sort of stabilize. You might get the odd desperate seller if they're coming up to the final payment and handover in the next 6 months, and they can't make it, so they've got to sell it. I've sort of discussed it before on the sales floor as well, and you'll know. And I mentioned it to Mario and Jessica last time I was on the podcast as well, in that you'll start to see what I'm trying to name and I'm trying to get viral is what we call mini markets.
Okay.
So area specific. So Dubai Marina prices might be going up, but Blue Water's prices might be going down. It might be stabilizing.
Yeah.
Palm Jumeirah, in the villa side of things, prices might be going up, and the apartments, they might be going up. But then you look at in a comparable market in like Maritime City or Dubai Islands, as things are starting to hand over, our prices going up, they might be going down, downtown, so you look at Dubai as a whole, and it will always say prices are increasing because they are. But, if you look at certain individual areas, depending on the supply, the demand, the hype that's around the area at that time, the biggest areas where they have the biggest hype is when things are handing over. If you look at these newer communities where properties are handing over, like I talked about the Valley, we've seen this hype increase. Our top performing agent has been from the Valley for pretty much February, March, April, May, and June. In July, now he's like, nobody wants the Valley. Well, not that nobody wants the Valley. Everyone's saying that the prices are too high in the Valley. They can get something closer for the same price. So because that hype's now all of a sudden hit that sort of ceiling, shall we say, for now. We saw a similar thing as Dubai Hills was handing over in Maple. Perfect location, perfect place. Everything was an absolute building site apart from Maple and Sidra and maybe Mulberry, and there was this big hype about it, and then all of a sudden, prices rocketed so quickly, and everyone started to go, actually, the value for the square footage that I'm getting isn't that good. If I went to Arabian Ranches, I can get a much bigger villa for the same price. It's only 10 minutes down the road. And then all of a sudden prices started to get a little bit rocky there, and then it ended up increasing again because the whole of the market did. So it's kind of, you're going to see a bit of a change. The areas that I personally think are gonna you're going to see massive increases are the newer up and coming areas. Demac Lagoons, which is rubbing shoulders with the likes of Talal Al-Ghaf, which has already had its hype. It's already got sort of getting established now. Jumeirah Golf Estates, which is also then going to rub shoulders with Oasis by Emaar. So all these sort of big villa communities are going to be very, very central. New road is going to be coming past Jumeirah Golf Estates from Al Khail Road to connect past Talal Al-Ghaf as well, which is then again going to help the transport side of things, going to make commuting to downtown to Al Quoz or wherever that might be a lot easier, a lot quicker to get to and from home. And all in all, it's going to sort of drag the market maybe a little bit away from the coastline a little bit. But what's then going to pull people back in is at the other end of the city, Dubai Islands being really sort of heavily focused on now. The one sort of objection that we're getting with Dubai Islands is, it's right over the flight path, so you're getting an airplane every 30 seconds. But then the caveat to that is, Expo, DWC is going to be open. That's going to where the majority of flights are then going to go to. So then people go, well, what's going to happen with DXB? Well, I'm not sick, man. I don't know. Ask him. I don't know.
I'll give him his number and you can call him and ask.
I've seen him at Sushi Samba on a Friday once or twice. So we go wait for him and ask him in the lift there. I don't know. So so it's kind of it's an interesting one, and it's an ever developing city, which again comes back to why I think the demand will always be there, and the supply really needs to catch up.
Yeah, you give a perfect example there once or twice about how the supply is directly affecting the demand in the micro market, like in the valley and places like that.
Oh, micro market. That sounds even better than mini market. I like that.
Doesn't it?
Yeah,
I think
let's
it was
get
James,
that viral.
I think it was James.
Micro market. Go, go, go.
I knew you'd like that one. I think it was James Glass who we had in for our training.
Oh
who might
no,
have
then we'll
mentioned
keep
that.
it in mini markets.
It was me then. I'll claim full. I'll claim full ownership of a micro market. But in terms of the next 2 quarters, do you think there might be an all-time high coming, or is there any clear indicator or any crystal ball prediction you could see where we could go close to an all-time high? Maybe.
I think when you look at news article that came out for Q1, I think it was 64 billion. I think was transferred in Q1. In Q2, it matched it, if not increased it a little bit more. Q3, as we're going now, what are we? We're 24 days into it. I can only speak for Novi. We've had having a record high leads this month. The summer, the quieter months.
That was a shocker to our agents when we brought that one up in the office.
To everyone was shocked when we talked about the leads comparison in July, first 10 days to the leads comparison in June, first 10 days. And it really shocked everyone, and that's continued in the last couple of weeks since I told the whole office about it.
I had a conversation with one of your agents, Ahmed, in the office, and he was talking about how Jason's pushing us to dig deeper during this summer period, and then he was saying how he's looking to go on holidays to Egypt and places like that.
Yeah, he fucks off to Egypt.
he was telling me he was looking forward to have a nice holiday this summer and kind of take it back a step. And I was like, why is that? And he was like, well, like the leads kind of die down and business dies down a bit. And then you came down with a big sheet of paper and stuck it on the wall, and it was like the leads had like quadrupled from the last month.
Yeah.
And Ahmed was like, oh shit.
He'd already booked the flight at that point.
Yeah. But he was obviously, proven wrong. What in the summer months, everyone has this misconception or maybe preconceived conception that it's time to take your holiday or time to relax. Do you have any advice for agents? What's maybe your best 3 tips of advice for agents coming into the summer months to keep business going or to keep working?
I think the biggest thing for anybody new that's in the summer now, and when we talk about the summer now, it's we're nearly at the end of July, we're into August, and historically getting into September, October, November gets busy. So the summer is best way to getting your ducks in a row, or whatever sort of slogan that you want to kind of use there. It's a case of getting organized, but business still happens. So in those summer months, it's so easy to do what Ahmed was saying and sort of switch off. Yeah, nah, these are and what I noticed as an agent, my best months as an agent were in rentals. My best month was effectively in May.
Okay.
As a rental agent, which is just before the summer starts. And my best month in sales was in August.
Wow, okay.
Because every other agent, or not every other agent, but majority of agents would switch off, would go away, kind of think about it, and there's no one here, and it's all mindset, right? And I spoke to the team about an audio. I'm too lazy to read books, so I listen to audio books on the way to and from work. And I was reading, and I wasn't reading. Let's not say that. I was listening. I was listening to an audio book called "In the Power of Your Subconscious Mind," and it opened my eyes, especially at this time of year. It really opened my eyes to what can easily sort of affect you as an agent. You're hearing that market slows down. Leads aren't as good. Everyone's away on holiday. When the actual case is that's not true, but you believe it's true because it's what you hear.
Yeah.
So what you're hearing is sort of you're taking it in, and then that becomes your belief system, and subconsciously your mind is telling you, yeah, it's slow, so you can switch off. You can take it a bit easier. But in actual fact, it's the best time to stay switched on, if not double down, and work harder throughout the summer. Not only because you see the fruits of your labours in September, October, November, and then you can go away and have a lovely Christmas and sort of switch off in December if you wanted to, even though business still happens in December. But, that was my choice December was my break, and then get back up and running in January. But, you'll also do a lot of business throughout those months because people are still inquiring. Like I said, we've had the busiest lead flow month we've had now for the whole year in July. You know, when you look at that, okay, yeah, there are other factors that have happened in that. We've had more listings than ever online. We've had more true checks ever than online. We've had more verifications on Property Finder, more super agents. But that's all been that hard work that's led up to the summer. So you've done all that hard work to get to this point. Why would you then switch off?
Just to throw it away.
Why would you then switch off to then come back in September and start again?
Yeah.
What's the point of that? So yeah, anybody that's just starting out or in their first summer and it feels really difficult, it is really difficult. But, you know, when it starts to feel difficult, that usually means that you're leveling up.
Yeah.
So that really weird. You're usually leveling up, which, like, you know, things get harder when you level up, right? It's not an easy job. It's not an easy game. It's not an easy industry. But when you work hard, you usually get rewarded for it.
Yeah, 100%. In a market like this, or in a competitive, saturated market like this, leveling up needs to happen every quarter, every month. We mentioned 1 or 2 or 3 agents so far, but you mentioned one of our newcomers, the Irish gentleman Graham. I think you were referring to.
Yeah, Graham.
Is there any advice you would give to new agents coming in, even after they close their first 1 or 2 deals, or maybe their first big deal? Do you have any advice to keep them motivated, or keep them working hard, or keep them looking towards the future rather than going out to your brunch on a Saturday after you make a bit of commission?
I mean, it's really hard, right? The Dubai lifestyle is that sort of twinkle in most people's eye when they come here, and it's really hard not to get sort of affected by it. I was really strict to myself when I first got here. So the first 6 months, not going to go out, not going to do any drinking. It's all about work. It's all about work. And after doing my first couple of deals, you know, oh, come and celebrate. And annoyingly I did. I didn't stick to my word, frustratingly. But, you know, it still worked out for the best. It was like, you know, a bad day afterwards, and why the hell have I done that? Let's get back on the reason why we came out here. But the flashlights of Dubai can be a big distraction. It's all about staying disciplined. That's the biggest one. It's not just disciplined in, like, you know, I'm a big believer of celebrating your success, but celebrate it in the right way. Don't go overboard, which then turns into, like, you know, a Friday turns into a Saturday, which turns into a really bad Sunday, and you're still struggling on the Monday, and you're playing catch up from the weekend. You haven't done any viewings. You then lost the whole week, and it's
this is an masterclass.
It can snowball so quickly.
Yeah.
Right? And you've not been there, obviously. You've never done that. You don't do that. You're an athlete, so, you know, you wouldn't know what that's like.
So we can still, in our cases, after we...
The fact that I've had to message you on Instagram at 1 a.m, not because you were out, because you were at a gym, and then you went to a run club at 6:30, that's the right mindset there, right? Like, you know, you're finding the time to do it. And, like, you know, it's a case of finding what works for you as an agent. You know, some guys come out here, some guys and girls come out here and want the lifestyle where, you know, they're work hard all week and they play hard all weekend. You know, if they're still turning up to viewings on a Saturday and Sunday and turning up to work ready to go on the Monday, that's I don't mind that.
Whatever works for them.
Yeah. But coming back to those to people like Graham, who are in their first sort of few weeks, you know, it's a case of don't get distracted, stay disciplined. Yes, it's going to be hard. The first deal feels hard. The second deal is even harder. Because you feel like, oh, I know what I'm doing now. I've done my first deal. Great. I know what I'm doing. Brilliant. Yeah. Actually, no, you're about to get slapped in the face because you think you know what you're doing. You haven't got a clue. So all in all, it's an interesting one. Just if you're not with Novi, as long as you've got a supportive manager, hopefully like myself is, like Brian is, like Lee is with our training manager as well. It's just a case of leaning on them and use their experience to the maximum. You know, there are going to be other agents that you're going to want to lean on as well. But just bear in mind that these agents also have their own deals to focus on. You know, there is a very helpful and supportive network that we have
definitely
at Novi, which is great. But, you know, the people to lean on are always there as well. I heard I was listening to another podcast, and I can't remember it word for word, but it was something like, you know, don't listen to the people who don't have what you want. So why are you listening to this person who's on zero on the board?
Okay,
Like,
getting deep with that one. How about that one?
Yeah, blind leading the blind sort of thing. And, it's kind of like, why are you listening to this person who hasn't done a deal for maybe a month? Like, go and if you want advice, speak to the people that are consistently billing, that are consistently ones that haven't switched off over the summer, the ones that are on 500,000 this month. Like, these are the people that you want to be around and surround yourself around, because you surround yourself with successful people and it breeds success.
Yeah, 100%. I thoroughly believe in that rule. It's funny you mentioned don't listen to the people who don't have what you don't want. The agent in the Valley we mentioned before, Abdulaziz.
Yep.
I remember when I first joined, he was, a kid in my eyes, even though I'm still a kid maybe. I think he's 20 or 21 years old. And when he came to give me advice, when I was a new agent, I kind of thought, mate, I'm not listening to you. You're a kid, mate. You have no idea. I'm going to go talk to this other 30-year-old agent who probably has half a clue. And then I seen how much he was building and how much he was closing. And I looked back and I thought, maybe I should have listened to that guy who's top of the board every month.
Yeah, it's funny, right? It's real, and again, it's really easy to get caught into the trap of stick to what you know, speak to the people maybe where you're from or that you maybe a bit more used to. But you know what? It doesn't matter where you're from here. If you work hard and you're earning money, listen to those people. Those are the ones you want to listen to, and usually those are the ones that they're the ones that you want to listen to, and they're usually the ones that want to give back as well, because the humble people that are at the top are the ones that you want to stick with.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. In terms of then, say, I know we're lucky to have you, as you were a pre-COVID agent, as I mentioned. What did it look like for new agents pre-COVID? Maybe in 2018 was it when you joined?
2018, yeah.
Compared to 2025 now, what's the feel looking like for new agents then and new agents now? Is there much of a difference? Is there much things have changed?
Yeah, obviously a lot's changed. The amount of areas that have changed, the style in which you do the job has changed. Before it was in you come. I was one of the first few people that probably went through a week's training.
Really?
Whereas before me, you hear so here's your desk. Cool. Here's your phone.
1 hour crash course.
Here's a list of numbers. Here's your phone.
Go, have at it.
See you later. Any problems? Let me know. That used to be it. Apparently, luckily I had a good training, to be fair, and walked into a very well set up establishment, and it was very much. It felt like I walked into Wolf of Wall Street. It was very much dog eat dog, and the person next to you was laughing and joking and going to lunch with you and could stab you in the back any minute. That's what it felt like.
Jeez.
But it made you into a good agent and a disciplined agent, and it made you do the things that even I ask now today of my agents. It made you go and do them to protect yourself and to protect your earnings, which is a good thing. But if you look at the differences, just the amount of more people that are doing the job as a real estate agent, the difference in the way that the job has changed, in that there's so much now on social media and marketing and stuff like that. So you're not just a real estate agent anymore. Sometimes you're having to do it. Even myself now, I'm doing a lot of social media, more so on the management side of things. Is more so for recruitment for me, showing the support that we give and the knowledge that we give. But for agents, it's showing that they are the area expert. They do know what they're talking about. Where if I'm recruiting an agent now, in my opinion, the first thing they do after maybe they speak to me or speak to one of my recruiters is to probably go onto Instagram. They probably look at the Instagram page. That's where our social media marketing needs to be hot.
Yeah,
I reckon that is now starting to happen with real estate agents. They're inquiring on Property Finder or through Bayt or from websites, and they're going, right, okay, how much is this person? Oh, they're on Instagram. Oh, okay, cool. Let's see what they've got. Let's
social media side.
Exactly, right. This is. I'm not young enough to be talking about TikTok, but I am young enough to be talking about Instagram. You on TikTok?
I have the app on my phone, but I wouldn't touch it. It's just on my phone.
That's what happens when you're in your 20s.
Look, the agents out here these days are going big on Instagram and even some on TikTok. And I hear some people even closing deals, getting good leads through like Instagram and TikTok, because the new generation, they're all even maybe late 30s. They're looking through Instagram, seeing what their agents are doing or how long they've been here or how good they actually are.
Yeah, I think it's another feather to your bow, another thing in your arsenal, shall we say? Like, it's something that you can help promote yourself. And in my opinion, it always goes back to the age old, like, in this job, people buy from people. You're gonna buy from somebody that you like, or you're gonna give them the opportunity to go and find that villa or that apartment that you like because you like them. You like their personality, you get on with them really well, compared to maybe that other idiot who just said the door was open, or this, that, and the other, right? So it's that first little in to sort of help create your personality and to sort of win people over on who you are as a person. Yes, you're not going to gel with every single person. That's always going to happen, but it might give you that little bit extra compared to the other person that they spoke on the phone. They might have called you at a really bad time, and your tone or your pitch might have been off a little bit, and they've gone, "Oh, he sounds a bit of an arsehole, this guy." Yeah. And then it turns around, they go look at you on Instagram, or like you send them a quick video afterwards, like "Oh, hi, yeah, thank you for your inquiry, but here's one of the villas that we're talking about. I'm just here now on a viewing, so I was a little bit rushed on the phone." They go, actually, this guy's all right. It can change dramatically, and that's why video is so powerful. The people could be listening to this and going, well, I'm not sure what this guy's all about, and then then you add in a video as well, body language, visual representation. It all gives so much more power to the agent. So rather than just your standard sort of walk around video of an apartment or a villa, here's the view, this, that, and the other. You put your personality spin on it. It makes a massive difference. That's something I was doing back in 2015 when I was selling Volkswagens. The first thing we do is it was an app called See It Now. We'd all have our iPads, and you'd literally, even if it was pissing down with rain, you'd be out there with your coat on or with your umbrella, and you'd put your sort of like your happy face on, even though it was freezing cold, it was maybe dark. Yeah, so here's the car that you've just inquired on. Here's the inside, this, that, and the other. Oh, nearly dropped the camera. Like you put your personality on it, and this guy's just like a right lad. Can't wait to go and see it, sort of thing. And it gives them an insight to the car, it gives them an insight to you. So you kind of just using as much as you can to try and get that person to buy from you and create that long-term relationship. Hopefully, you
don't want to come off as robotic to anyone, or like
no,
you're not an AI chat assistant, so don't act like one.
Exactly right. Like it's how annoying is it when you call up a helpline and you get a robot and it's like press this or say this and you have to say it like 10 times, whereas that's the difference where I can't see it ever changing, or if it does change, I personally don't think it will work, because people need to, when people buy property, it's usually the biggest investment that they're ever going to make. Yeah, whether it's for investment or whether it's for to purchase to live in themselves. So there's got to be that element of trust in that person that they're transacting with. No one's going to, very rarely, I won't say no one, very rarely someone is going to buy a property from someone that they don't trust. Yeah. Unless it's the only one that they want. They've asked you to go and find it. You can't find it. You can't get hold of it. The agent won't work with anyone. They have to go through this other agent, and it's frustrating. But even then, there's still going to be that element of doubt. Whereas, if there's somebody that they know, somebody that they trust, someone that they've maybe gone on 2 or 3 viewings with, they've had a coffee with, they've been to their office, they've had multiple conversations on WhatsApp, on over the phone, and they're going to the point where, I've had people that we've literally walked out of a viewing of a villa that had been sold through COVID, prices were going up very, very quickly. Buyer couldn't get a mortgage quick enough. There was a clause, they had to get a mortgage within a couple of weeks, and couldn't get it. Came to the day before that mortgage was about to go, and the seller rings me up and goes, right, you can come and do a viewing tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last day. If it doesn't work out, but just so you know, 2 other people are viewing it. So I've said, guys, we've been out, we've seen 3 or 4 different options in Arabian Ranches. And they were like, they had the pool, they had everything they wanted, had a nice big garden, and they're like, right. We walked out and they went, what do you think we should do? Like, we want it. What do we think we should do?
They've asked you this.
They've asked me this. They trusted me that much to go, right, what do we think we should do? This is the price that it was. I think it's like 3.65 or something.
I think you should pay me extra 10% commission is what I would have said off the bat. But what did you go with at the time?
I'm not. Annoyingly, I'm not that sort of agent. Annoyingly for my bank balance, I'm not that sort of agent. But or I wasn't that sort of agent. I'm not that sort of manager now either. But no, they were asking me what should we do?
Yeah.
Should we go in lower? Should we go in a bit lower? And I was like, I think if you go in lower, they're going to say to one of these other two guys,
Yeah.
they've come in like we're not even going to waste our time with them guys. They're not serious. I think you need to come in at maybe the same price that they sold for before because we know that they're willing to accept that, or they were 2 weeks ago when they signed the contract. Or we go in a bit higher. We can go in at this price, but allow me to say to me, what's the maximum you want to spend?
Okay.
Allow me to go in here and then just leave it with me and I'll get you the best possible. If it goes above that, I'll call you.
Okay.
And that's what we did. They left it to me.
And what did you go with? What was your decision?
I started at a similar price. Somebody else came in a little bit higher and we ended up closing it around at their maximum, luckily. Because we established that, if you come in at the maximum they were willing to spend was 3.8.
Sure.
And I was like, well, let's just do something different. Because if we go at 3.8, someone's going to come in at 3.81. Why don't we go in at 3.815 as maximum? 15,000 dirham more. Because if we say, look, this is absolute maximum, then they've got to go to 3.825 or 3.85. And it's like, so we put a bit of a random number on it and they were like, okay, yeah, leave it at that. And we managed to close it. It did get to the top point because they went to 3.8, which means we went to the 3.815 and they're like, okay, yeah, that's enough. So sellers were dead happy because, 20 days after they just sold it at 3.65, they got nearly another 200,000 dirham more. But, it kind of, that sort of all that time and effort and all those sort of viewings and all that sort of responsibility that they gave to me showed me that they trusted me enough to be able to get a deal done.
Yeah, that's one of the things to anyone who I speak to or anybody who's looking to come out here and they say, I don't have experience in real estate or I don't know the property market that well. I kind of say, well, look, out here, especially in Dubai compared to like Ireland, England, anywhere else in the world, that it's more so about selling the relationship more so than selling the property in the beginning. Do you think that's definitely a principle out here? You sell the relationship or sell your trust before you were to even mention the property.
Yeah. So when we're talking about new agents and we're talking about even if you've got no real estate experience or no sales experience, sometimes that's not necessarily a bad thing because you've got no bad habits. I think that the main thing that what I know that I look for in agents is sort of drive, work ethic, because the skills we can teach. We can teach you the skills of a real estate agent, of a salesperson. It's if you want to go and do it.
Yeah.
You have to be the drive. This job is really flipping hard. And you can make it harder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
If you don't follow the sort of the steps that we're sort of trying to show you and stick to, being the person that you are, doing the slightly more sort of not so nice bits of the job, which get you started. You're effectively starting your own business. And then you use who you are to get people to like you, whether that's landlords or whether that's tenants or whether that's sellers or whether that's buyers or whether it's just like, developers or this, that, and the other. Okay. They then buy into you as a person and then they gain that trust to you as a person. I still get calls today of, oh yeah, like, thinking about selling it or, I'm thinking about buying something else. What do you think I should do? What do you think is going to happen with the market? And that just shows the trust that maybe I've built up over the sort of 7-8 years that I've been here now. Maybe that's like, it just goes to show, it's again, like we talked about before, it's all about who you are as a person, people buying into you as a person and then trusting you and you then developing that relationship into future prospects, referral prospects. But yeah, if you've got no experience, it's absolutely fine. It goes back to what we were talking about before. Listen to the people who have what you want. Don't listen to the people who don't have it.
Yeah.
And the people who don't have it are usually the loudest ones. Yeah. So, you kind of gotta pick and choose who you speak to, who you learn from. But okay, if you've got the drive, if you've got the right mindset, if you've got the mentality of making it work no matter what, then the skills can be taught, or you can at least learn them. If you've not got a supportive manager or a good management system to help you, there are plenty of other ways. There's plenty of other sort of aspects to learn them through, even through like webinars, through Instagram videos of other people, through listening to stuff like this. I've picked up so much from listening to podcasts about leadership styles and how to get people to engage more and stuff like that. And maybe not necessarily in sales, but in other industries as well. So there's always something you can learn, but it's down to it's down to you as the individual to put the hard work in.
Yeah, yeah. Even on the topic of like trustworthiness, I think a lot of our agents in Novi kind of maybe have more trust in you than other management at the moment, because you do something where you don't ask agents to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. You know, you're out doing true checks with us. You're out putting up signs for us. You're kind of, you don't feel like you're kind of above us. You're in the field with us or in the trenches with us sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that helps when I've been there as an agent and I've been through those hard times of, oh my god, what am I going to do next month if I don't do a deal?
Yeah,
I've been staring at that sort of conversation to home where I've run out of cash. I can't even afford a flight home. I've been staring that down the barrel, and I wouldn't want any of my guys to be involved in that. And it's kind of a case of and I like to live by that sort of ethos of I genuinely wouldn't make anyone do anything that I wasn't willing to do myself. That's why if I'm late for a meeting, which is very rare, but I'll get up and sing because that's what I make everyone else do. Because not because it's a punishment for being late. It's goes back to the mentality thing of if you're turning up late for a meeting with me, what are you doing with your clients? What are you doing with your landlords,
yeah,
with your tenants, or your buyers and your sellers? But also when you're the true check thing, it's so annoying. It's an annoying task to do, but we see the value in it,
yeah,
and I see so much value in it that if I don't go out and do it, I know you guys won't go out and do it. So that's why we do it. But then we add in the nice little things of the Cybertruck and the Ferrari and stuff like that to sort of to help sort of make it feel a bit more of a fun
yeah,
experience. But it's funny, the more every time I take an agent out to go and do it and they learn the benefits, they see a massive increase in lead flow the next week. And then all of a sudden it's like they do it every week without me having to ask. And it's like, oh, so you're doing it now? Like, yeah, yeah. So the more we do that, the more it drills into the agents of why they should do it and sort of why we're not just there as management and support. We're there for a lot of things, right? Sometimes I have to have a psychologist hat on. Sometimes I have to have a counseling hat on. Sometimes needs to be a shoulder to cry on. And
sometimes you're a mate for a pint, maybe.
Sometimes I'm a mate for a pint, maybe, or a mate for a run.
If you do
or
a good
something
deal,
like
maybe.
that. Well, we still need to do that top golf.
Sure.
But also sometimes you need to be there, and I need to be switched on. You know, people ask me, oh, so you're in management in real estate. Do you need to work do you work weekends, stuff like that? Or I'm on call. If I get a phone call being like, I need some help in this negotiation, I need to be ready. Need to be ready to go. And that's part of the job, and that's where I still get my buzz back from not being an agent, is helping other guys close their deals, and them coming up to me saying, oh, I wouldn't have got that closed about you. And it's for me, it's like, no, you did all the work. You literally did all the work to get it done. I've literally done nothing to help. And I think that helps as well, in that they're the sort of the respect is both ways, and the appreciation is there as well.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I remember, I think it was 9, 10 p.m. on like a Wednesday night, and I had a deal that was just revived out of nowhere,
Oh
and I had to
yeah, the
go.
Marcella studio. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
had to hammer it Thursday morning, the next morning, and make a decision for a client. And I was like, I don't want to bother Jason. It's 9, 10 p.m. And his kids or whatever. And I was like, oh no, it's my commission. Fuck, I'm gonna call him
Yeah,
or
too right.
text him. And you were straight away back on the phone to me, which was a good reassurance.
Yeah, I think and again, that comes back to, as an agent, I've been there at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And to be fair, when I first started out, I had a manager who, I remember, it was like the very last Game of Thrones had just come out, and no one could get you had to stream it and stuff out here at the time. And I'm doing my first proper big sales deal, which was at the time was a big one for me, because I was doing a smaller area, but it was 2.5 million. I was getting 4%, and we were to and fro, and I said this, what do I say now? And every time I'm and I'm also on the voice notes, are you watching Game of Thrones as well? He's like, yeah, I'm having to pause it every time you call me. I'm like, sorry. Sorry about that. And then it's buffering. I'm like, oh, sorry. So, but I've been there as an agent where I've met people at 2 o'clock in the morning to get contract signed and stuff like that. So, you got to be available. You've always got to be available. There's a rarity, it's whether it's Saturday, Sunday, late at night, whatever it is, you got to be available. I've been on a run at Kite Beach at 6 a.m. in the morning, and people are phoning me up I've got this problem, like, whether it might not even be real estate, but like, you've got to be there, you've got to be available for the guys, and hopefully that creates the trust in me, and that makes them not want to work. That makes them want to work harder to help me achieve my goals, which my goals are the company's goals, and which should be their goals, and
Yeah.
it sort of flows in that sort of way.
Yeah, 100%. It's good to see that, in practice around the office as well. Like nearly every day you see practices like that. And we covered a lot of topics today. Went on one or two tangents.
Couple. I
Maybe
thought we
my
could have
fault
done
more so
more.
than yours, but
No.
look, we'll come into a closing note. It was great to have you on today. Do you have any last thoughts on the market going forward for the next 2 quarters, or advice to agents or anything you want to finish on before we wrap up?
You're in the period at the moment now where it's going to feel hard. It's going to feel like, what am I doing here at times? But again, like I talked about at the start or throughout the podcast, it's a case of, getting your ducks in a row. There are still transactions happening. There are still loads of leads. Over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see loads of people return to Dubai. Already this week, I've noticed every day traffic's got a little bit more busy.
Okay.
Even when I'm getting into the office for 8 a.m. and so before 8 a.m. the traffic's even busy. So you're going to see the fruits of your labor in the next 4, 5, 6 weeks. So hang in there, and come Christmas, you'll be laughing. You'll be laughing at the Christmas party. Work really hard for the next 4 or 5 months, and then come the Christmas party, you'll seriously be laughing, and hopefully you'll be able to let me know.
100%. Look, Jason, thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking to me
Pleasure,
today.
absolute pleasure.
Looking
Anytime.
forward to maybe getting another episode in with you in the future.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining us, guys, on this episode of NOVVI Talks. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a message, reach out to us, and hopefully see you on the next one.